Good morning and good morning and good morning. Welcome to an exclusive interview of a special webinar panel discussion that we have in here on the Upfront Mind, Body, and Soul, which is also being hosted by Holistic Professionals of Color University, which is one of our initiatives, is Men's Health this month. But I am just honored to have these gentlemen here for the Men Need Healing too. And I want to say thank you guys. Thank you, Anthony Carter. Thank you, Derek Powell. Thank you, Jermicheal Mitchell. And thank you, Todd Ledbetter. Welcome, welcome, welcome on this Men Need Healing too today. So I just want to say thank you for helping me follow the alignment, because who would know that after I put this out that things was just happening all over the place. So I just want to say, I want each one of you to introduce yourself. And I'm going to start with how my camera's flowing from. So I'm going to start with Anthony Carter. Welcome, and tell the audience, give them a little bit who you are.
Okay, hello. Thank you very much for having me. Greetings, gentlemen. My name is Anthony Carter. I am an award-winning filmmaker, writer, blogger, grandfather, as of 6 weeks ago, a great-grandfather. So you got the next tier coming up. I live in Connecticut. I moved here from California, right outside of LA. Super glad to be here. I'm a whole food plant-based coach that specializes in supporting Black men 40 to 60 who are combating hypertension and want to use plants, community, and stress elimination as part of their toolbox.
All right. Thank you. Welcome. Derek Powell here.
Hello, everybody. My name is Derek Powell. I'm a 51-year-old person in recovery. I'm from Delaware. I am a podcast host, a small platform, but it's my podcast host. I basically do what I do because of the fact that I am a person in recovery, and I just want to be able to help share, help some other people that may be in the same situation or a similar situation as I, and just be able to give back and play my part. I'm actually just a person trying to rebuild myself. Just trying to rebuild myself and get myself on track. That's my purpose.
All right. And Jermicheal Mitchell.
Good morning, fellas. Hope all is well with you guys, man. Glad to be here today. My name is Jermicheal Mitchell. I am a community and youth activist in Salisbury, Maryland. I've been doing the work for a few years now, over 20. I started doing work in my community when I was 17, coaching basketball. I've created a few nonprofits in the area. I work for a nonprofit called Maneri's Dream Alliance, running a mentor program for young people between the ages of 12 and 17, and then a diversion program for people between the ages of 18 to 24. And I do other things. I'm involved in local politics. I'm a basketball coach. I run a basketball organization. But we started a new initiative called Strong Mind Coalition, which is pushing men's mental health. A lot of things. We got to heal men. So that's one of the new coalitions that we've started in the area, where we're trying to have forums like this, discussions between men, book clubs, and a few other things that we're trying to put together just to show men that they're not alone out here in this journey along with healing. So.
All right. See, I told you it's a powerhouse here. And lastly, my good friend, Todd Ledbetter. How are you? Tell the audience who you are.
Good morning, Michelle. Good morning to the brothers on the panel, and good morning to everyone watching with us today. My name is Todd Ledbetter. I currently live in Las Vegas, Nevada. I lived in the DC area, the DMV, for a long time. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I am a musician. I'm a jazz saxophonist. I am also a public school teacher. I teach English language arts at a school here in Las Vegas. And I'm also an emotional wellness activist, as well as a certified Allowing Your Success coach. And all of that was born out of the things that I did to overcome a long battle with severe depression.
All right. So, wow. This is why I'm saying, when it came to me about this is what I picked out. And I'm going to explain to each one of you right now the reason why I picked you out. So, Jermicheal, if you remember, a few years ago, we both did an before, Sherman, and we sat at a table together, and you like, I just love your spirit. Because I was, me, I was killing it with the jokes, but I was for real. And who knew that this would happen? Anthony, I just met Anthony recently, and from HPOC at a conference, and we connected just like that when he's talking about men's health. Because at the time, my husband had suffered a stroke on the way while we were there in Colorado a couple months back. Derek, Derek for me has been one of people that I've took close to. I've seen something special in him and when in one of his parts of his recovery journey. So that's why I say you need to heal. I always said that. And for Todd, I met Todd maybe about 6-7 years ago when I was talking about writing books, and he happened to come, and we connected ever since then. But the special thing about this is, Todd, if you remember, and matter of fact, it came on my timeline this week, that we talked about doing this. Remember, we talked about this last year and doing it, and here it is to fruition. That is when you talk about when you fall in your alignment and you know that you're where you are. So today we're talking, you guys, I'm bringing you guys here to give some of the people who are even the females, how to help your men heal. We're talking about exploring your inner worlds together, open dialogue, reflection. Like you said, you do it. All of you guys are in the community. You have some community. You have some connection. So we talk about mind, emotional healing. Now, there are some factors in that I want you to think about. Mental clarity is one. Emotional release is how you're going to release it, how you're going to do it healthy way to release. Stress awareness and positive transformation, right? So the first question that I have is for each one of you, and I'll call you by your name. What does emotional healing mean to you as a man? And Jermicheal, I'll pick you first.
All right, cool. Emotional healing means a journey that's everlasting. When we're healing, it's not something that just happens. We go through different traumas, whether that be loss of a loved one, loss of a relationship, loss of something like a job. That's a trauma. So we go through a lot of different things as men. And from childhood, we've always been told to suck it up. We've always been told, don't cry, don't be in tune with your emotions. So I feel like it's a longevity process. It's a situation where men have to understand that they forever be working towards healing because we will always go through things, especially being African American men in America. We are the most disrespected and most targeted person in America. The black woman is the most unprotected, but we are the most disrespected and most targeted. So it's just a journey that always has to happen. It's a conversation piece that we always have to be willing to talk about, finding those positive therapies, whatever that looks like. I like to draw. I like to listen to music. I like to be very creative, get my creative mindset, get those juices flowing, find some time in nature for myself. But it's just understanding that you have to find what works for you. This isn't a cookie cutter situation where everything's always going to be the same. It's something that looks different for every man. But healing is a must, because the only way that we heal our families and get back to our families being united, the only way that we get our violence down in our communities is if men heal, because then young men want to heal, and they got examples of what healing looks like. A lot of times families don't know what healing looks like because for generation after generation, no one has ever healed. They just piled on top of trauma, on top of trauma, on top of trauma. And people don't know how to heal because it's not taught in our family. It's not taught in our schools. So that's why it's very vital for people like us to be having these conversations and doing the work that we do, because men have to learn how to heal because it's not taught, right? We usually provide and protect, but learning how to heal isn't one of those things that you're taught at a young age. So that would be my gist.
Good. That's good. Todd, the same question go for you.
Well, brother Jeremiah hit so many of the points, I'm giving an amen to everything that he just said. And I think a big part of healing is living on your own terms and giving yourself permission to live on your terms. I believe that we're each sent here, we arrive here at this life with a purpose. And we each have a set of aptitudes, interests, abilities, personality, proclivities that are our divine custom toolkit for the fulfillment of our purpose. And a lot of times people have unfulfilling lives and feel stress and all these other things because they're talked out of living on purpose. We're talked into, you got to do this, you got to do what you got to do. And we never get to that purpose, the thing that we were sent here to do. And until you do that, you're never going to have the life that you were intended to have and the life that you could have. So that purpose piece is a big part of healing, and just being able to take all the experiences of your life and be able to integrate them into your life in a healthy way so that you can fulfill your purpose.
Yeah. Derek, the same question for you.
I think Jermicheal mentioned something that was really important, something I always think about as well. The fact that we as men, a lot of us were taught not to show our emotion. We were taught not to cry. We don't express our feelings as much as we should. I know for me personally, I'm okay with the fact now that I know who I am. I'm okay with the fact now that I was never a really tough, brolicky guy. That was never my personality until I met the streets. And, I'm back in tune with the fact that I like the simple things. I like flowers. I like gardens. I like walking in the park. I like those type of things. That's my true person. That's my true identity. But being caught up in street situations, I had to put on this image, this facade, and put this coat of armor on, I guess, this coat of masculinity on, and portray something of somebody else that I'm not. So I just think that sometimes we just have to dig deeper within ourselves and find out who we truly are and embrace that.
Yeah, that's most definitely. And Anthony, the same with you.
Okay, I think it's something that I wrote down. I was taking notes from everybody because I don't know what else I could add to this, but I'm going to try. I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. I think we need to know that it's needed. It's okay. And something that I wrote down the word grief because Jermicheal was talking about, the generational trauma, right? The trauma on top of trauma. But many of us learn how to operate in that world, right? Like a lot of people, and I struggle with this sometimes myself too. We know how to handle things when it's a mess, right? When it's a bunch of drama and a bunch of foolishness. When we don't have that, many times we're at a loss, like, well, what is this? What's going on? It's like, no, life is supposed to be great. It's supposed to live well. I think one of the things that we don't do, much like what Jermicheal said, one of the things we don't do enough of is that we're a country that is really grief stricken, and we don't process grief. We don't. We just keep moving. I was talking about this last week at another conference about how I know a number of Black men who've been through really awful things, really horrific things, really emotionally heavy things. And I know, for example, they haven't processed it, right?
Mm.
They don't let themselves just, okay, I'm really hurting behind X, Y, and Z. Now it comes out in other ways. And it always comes out because it's not like it goes away. But I think we have to look at that it's okay that we are a nation and a subculture that has not dealt with a lot of the grief that we have. And then somebody mentioned something about protecting and being, I think Jermicheal mentioned that about we're taught to be, as men, we're taught to be protectors. And something I was thinking about as recently as this morning is that we don't think men need protection, right? We don't think young boys need protection. Yeah. And it's almost like, I was reading this book years ago, and they were saying that what happens is we cut off young boys from their emotional life at about 5, right? It's kind of like, okay, well, you're done with that, move on, it's time for you to man up. Well, the person is 5 years old and they're still afraid of the dark, still peeing in the bed at night, but we want them to be an adult.
To be a man.
So one of the things I think we need to really look at too is, who's protecting these young, sweet boys? Who's taking care of them? Who's making sure they get what they need? So that's what I would say we need to work on and focus on.
Wow. And this is going to move into the next question about that, because you guys all put it on the thing. When we talk about trauma, we talk about trauma. A lot of people don't understand the ACEs. I just talked about that yesterday. I think it is so genuine if we, as a body, understand what our ACEs is, our adverse childhood experiences. We talked about it. Those type of things can get entwined into our DNA. But what do you do when you notice? As you said, in our culture, it's just like, you just pray about it and it'll go away, right? Not to say that prayer doesn't work, but there's also people that are here to help aid you through these processes, as you guys were just talking. So one of the things is, there's a lot of misconception. Oh, if I go to a therapist and I'm a male, that means that I'm a punk, I'm weak, or whatever else, or, So what are some misconceptions about men's health that really need to change? And I'm going to start with you, Derek, with that question.
What was that again?
What are some misconceptions about mental health that need to be changed?
First of all, I think that a lot of people confuse mental health with mental illness. I believe that the mental health side it's just basically how you maintain yourself emotionally, how you maintain your feelings and emotions. I believe, personally, that some things, it's already been said that we need to work more on understanding what it is before we can do anything else. One of the misconceptions, I believe, is that we can overcome this ourselves. We can overcome these situations and issues by ourselves. And I think that's just not. I don't think it's healthy to try to do things like that on our own. I believe that we need to involve other people, because we can't just go on our own thought processes all the time and believe we're going to come out on the bright side.
Right. That's true. Todd, the same question for you.
Biggest misconception is emotion itself, I think. When you look at the word emotion, motion, E as in energy, and motion, frequency, vibration. Why do we have this thing called emotion? Well, first of all, you look at talk about the whole idea of motivation. The only reason any of us does anything is because of how we think the doing or the being or the having of that thing is going to make us feel. Okay. If you take anything anyone does, if you drill down enough, I do this with my students. I ask them, what do you want? And once they sort through that to even understand what I'm saying about that, then they'll say, okay, I want, when I graduate from high school, to make X amount of money. And I ask them, why? Because I want a house. Why? If I drill down to them enough times, it gets down to a feeling, how it's going to make them feel. So the paradox of that is, we're taught in this society, forget your feelings, F your feelings, just focus on, doing what you got to do. But everything you do is based on your feelings. So it's like you driving down the highway with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. You're doing what you're doing because of how you think it's going to make you feel, but I'm going to ignore my feelings. How can you do both? You can't. So I'd say that right there is probably the biggest misconception.
Most definitely. I agree. Jermicheal, the same question for you.
I would just agree with both of what those brothers are saying, but I think the biggest piece would be mental health is not a mental illness. It needs to be on a billboard in our communities, all over, put on posters, because that's been the biggest thing since I was a child. I think generations before me, mental health always equaled crazy, right? And when you talk about that in our community, people run from that conversation, right? Because again, I ain't crazy. What I need to sit on somebody's couch for? I think the other misconception is, right, ways of therapy. Everybody thinks you got to go kick your feet up and talk to somebody to, when it comes to mental health. And there are multiple forms of therapy to help you deal with your mental health. So it isn't always kick your feet up, talk to somebody about your problem issues. That is one way, and that works for certain people. But I just think people have that misconception that if you have mental health issues or you need to heal, that you're crazy, right? Especially in our community. And they run from that. It's no way I can have that tag on me of crazy, right? So that I think that's the biggest misconception. And that's why the brother said, Mr. Derek said, mental health is not mental illness. They are totally different. Mental illness can fall under mental health, but it's not the same thing.
Exactly. So I'm going to give you a different question here, Anthony, when we go, because we're going to move into the next subject of body, which, and I know that is one of your things. And I just want you to share a little bit about what you're doing with that. But as we have all of you here today, how can a brotherhood connection help in the healing journey?
Is that a question for me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I don't know where you were starting. Okay. How can it help? I think my personal experience and what I've seen people do is that you only heal in community. So you can't, it's like you said before about praying or whatever. Typically that's a solitary event. That's a solitary way of doing things. I believe that you only heal in community. And what I mean by that, and community looks different from time to time. We're talking about mental health, right? One of the reasons that I think we don't get further is because we're taught as men that we're supposed to know everything. So if you got all the answers and you know everything, you're not going to reach out to somebody and say, I need help with this or help with that. It's like if you have, if I broke my arm, right? I wouldn't go to anybody that I know to fix it because they're not, unless they're a doctor, that's what they do. I wouldn't go to them. I go to a professional. So in my opinion, the most important thing is that we learn to heal in community, and you learn that from other brothers, other people in the community, other men. One of the things that I think we can share, I think Jermicheal mentioned this about the younger generation and young boys and young men. One of the things we can share is that, understanding emotion or understanding your emotions doesn't mean you're ruled by them. It just means you understand them. Right. And I think a lot of times we have to model that for people. So we need to do that in terms of a community of Black men. This is how you manage your emotions. This is how you not allow yourself to be ruled by them.
Right. I'm telling you, this is awesome. So we're going to take a quick little break and we're going to be right back. Look, I want you to go tag someone in this. I want whoever's you're watching right now. And I'm thanking you, Yota Moni. I appreciate your comments. I want you to know that I'm seeing them. And yes, the billboard is such a great idea. Jermicheal, we have to talk about that afterwards when we get off. We have to talk about that because that's a good thing. That is a good thing. But we're going to take a quick commercial break and we're going to be right back. Welcome back to the Upfront Mind, Body, and Soul, partnering with HPOC, which is Holistic Professionals of Color, through their Men Initiative this month on. And we are here with some fabulous gentlemen who are talking about men need healing too. So, we went to the mind. We done talked about the mind, because again, it's the mind, the body, and the soul. All of that works together, right? Because if one thing is out of order, everything else can trickle down, and it can trickle down in other areas. So the next portion that we're going to is to body, which is the physical. energetic healing. Because look, Todd brought that out and say, look, he was reading my stuff behind the scenes. He just didn't even know I was going to bring that out about those frequencies and stuff. But nutrition, movement, sleep, and how to do tension release in different times and scenarios in our life. Because again, Jermicheal, you said, we look at as the male to be the protector, but then who's protecting you? You look at, because you have this weight on your shoulder. As again, are you right? You're a black man. You are at a high risk every day. Like, am I just gonna get something happen to me based upon because the color of my skin, or different things like that? But nutrition, all of that site takes in perspective when we're talking about our body and our physical. How are we keeping ourselves healthy? Again, because we need healing in that area too, because as you said, generational through generational is what our patterns have been given us, but then we move beyond when we start to get healthier. How it is. Especially in our culture, we have been used to so long. But one of the panels that's here today, Anthony Carter, he's a filmmaker. He has a film, and we'll give you all the information about everyone before we leave from tonight. Anthony put something together and how he transformed his whole body around. So, Anthony, you want to share a little bit about your documentary that has award-winning internationally and nationally. So, can you give a little bit about that story, how that came about?
Sure. Two things kind of came together at the same time. On the artistic side, I decided, I was thinking one day, what do I want to do with my life? Like, why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? And I got this idea, just came out of my mouth. I'm going to make documentary films. I'd always wanted to do it. I put it to the side. I was acting, singing, dancing, touring. And I was like, what do I really want to do? I want to make documentary films. Fast forward, a friend of mine gave me a flyer for a film class where they were going to teach you how to make documentary films. And this happened within 2 days. So I got in this film class, started working on making films, started learning a bunch of things. But right around the same time, this was right around COVID. This was right like the middle of COVID. Right before COVID hit, I went to the doctor because I was sick all the time. I was always sick. I was always dizzy. I had headaches. I couldn't sleep. My body was swollen. I didn't know what was going on, right? Everybody kept telling me that, oh, you're just black and a man and in your 50s. That's what's supposed to happen. And I was like, huh? And so this went on I'm embarrassed to say, for a number of years. And then one day I just said, you know what? I'm fed up. So I went to my doctor. And immediately, she took my blood pressure. It was super high. She couldn't believe it was so high. Nothing had happened as of yet. She took it 4 times. It was high. It was 145 over 95. She started talking about strokes and pills. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. She immediately put me on pills. I didn't want to be on pills. And I said, well, I want to make sure, how do I not do this? And she was like, well, unless you're going to lose, 20 or 30 pounds in 2 weeks, nothing. Now, fast forward, I talked to my mom, who I believed at the time had taken herself off of her blood pressure medicine. She started telling me what she did with plants and just eating differently. And so I got her health coach, started working with her health coach. And it took me some time. It took me about 2 years to fully get off the medication and the pills, right? In the meantime, while I was doing this process, I made a film about it. I was documenting it. I was recording things, and I was meeting all these wonderful Black vegans on Twitter. And I told everybody, I was like, hey, come do my podcast and be in my movie. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, let me just collect all this info, right? Ended up making this short that's like 15 or 16 minutes, which Dr. Michelle saw in Denver. Won all these awards. And the film was all about my journey, figuring out basically how I was going to save my own life, because nobody was coming. Because everybody kept telling me, this is just the way to do it. You're Black. That's when I was 52. You're Black, you're early 50s, you're a male. This is what's supposed to happen. Just suck it up. And I remember thinking, nope, no thank you. This is not going to be me. This is not. So I was like, now everybody else is telling me this is the way it is. I don't believe this is the way it is. And I made a determination to turn it around. And I documented it in the film. And my goal is to have 100,000 Black men join me in this journey to make their health an asset and not a liability, and turn their lives around with health. And I happen to do it with plants, a whole food plant-based diet, connecting to my community and eliminating stress. The name of the film is Ask the Old Guy. I think I got that in about 4 minutes. Okay.
Just,
Ask
I was trying to
and,
keep it. I was trying to keep it short.
but you know, that is essential because again, this is why I part in the part about the body. Because again, you're a black male. Black, you know, recently black men don't really take care of themselves as is, right? You know, if I can tell you that's the reason why my husband had a stroke. He might be mad for me saying that, but he had it because he was being non-compliant about taking what he needed to take, right?
Mhm.
If you know, and I get it. But then you do the interventions to get off the meds, like you said you did. So, you know, that takes strength. So the question I have for you guys is, what does strength mean to you beyond physical appearance? Because as you said, it had to take you strength because as you went into that doctor to give you that diagnosis, they looked at you and what did you just say? Oh, you're a black man. But you said that didn't have to be your death sentence. So what can we do to help our men heal, to also know that it is genuine that you do get your physical appointments, to check on yourselves and start to do things in the basis, because again, nutrition is a part of helping your mental as well. So I'll start with you, Jermicheal, with that question. What does strength mean to you beyond the physical appearance?
So I'll add what Brother Todd said. Strength is frequency. It's understanding the things that you need in your life to grow and heal. Whether that be getting in tune with nature and getting grounded, right? Just taking some silent time. Whether that music is frequency. Birds chirping is frequency. Nature is frequency. Uh, Touch is frequency, right? The energy between two people. That's frequency. Foods we eat is energy, right? As the brother was saying, eat to live, not to die, right? That's very vital and important that you eat living things, that you eat healthy things, because that matters, right? That's how you change your diet. That's how you get off those different things. You got to eat different. We're so used to eating a certain way in the black community that it's traditional that we eat a certain way, and that's killing us, right? That's also causing mental health issues, right? When your body's dragging and you're on a bunch of psychotropic meds or blood pressure meds, you ain't thinking
Mhm.
clearly. You ain't thinking about healing. Those things ain't on your frequency, right? So we talk about that, and then of course, working out is frequency, energy. You're creating an energy as you work out, whether it be walking, whether it be going to the gym, whatever that workout looks for like for you. But as the brother said, you have to have the strength to start understanding what you need to heal, whatever that looks like. Mr. Anthony said he knew that his body wasn't supposed to feel like that. Age has nothing to do with feeling good. Age has nothing to do with being healthy, right? These things they always try to pass down as traditional or
Mhm.
generational. That's not true. We've just always ate wrong. You know what I mean? I might got some of the same health issues my grandfather had because we keep eating the same traditional foods, the same things. So if no one ever, as Brother Anthony did, change the directory, right? I got to start eating different. I can't eat those same things I used to love or I grew up eating. So I believe it's truly just understanding the frequency, like Brother Todd said, and changing those things in your life, being strong enough mentally to know I have to be willing to change. It might not taste as good. It may not. It may hurt a little bit, but at least it's hurting to have something. At least it's hurting to heal
Mhm.
instead of hurting towards depression or hurting towards being worse. Pain is good sometimes. It's a good thing sometimes, but that's the biggest piece. Just having that strength to truly know what your frequencies need to be.
Yeah. So Todd, look, I see Todd receptors up already in the spirit realm. Look, I see your receptors up already when you're talking about those frequencies. Look. So the same question goes for you, because again, I gotta look a certain way, I gotta be buff, I gotta be this, again, what is the strength beyond the physical appearance?
I'm thinking about my own history. I have all of the family histories, diabetes, uh, obesity. My mother passed away from cancer. So, we've got all this stuff in our histories. But fortunately, even my father, with his family history of diabetes, he started trying to treat it his own way when I was growing up. And he didn't do all the right things, but he made me conscious at an early age of what you put in your body, how you eat. So I've always kind of eaten healthy. And then as I was trying to pull myself out of this cycle of just emotional brokenness, I discovered walking. And it was nothing for me to some days put in 20,000 steps a day. I'm walking, I'm meditating, I'm listening to books and other things. And that was a big part of my healing process. But I think the biggest thing that you can do to take care of your physical health is reduce stress.
Ooh.
Once I got intentional about reducing the stress in my life, the cortisol levels went down. At one point, I had sleep apnea. I was obese. I was having chronic recurrent back issues. I was in treatment for the depression. And once I got deliberate about eliminating or reducing or minimizing stress in my life, which required some pretty drastic changes, but I made those changes. And people actually say I look younger and healthier now than I did 10 years ago. I mean, I'm turning 60 next year, and people think I'm about 20 years younger than I really am. So that if there's any one thing you can do, because everything else flows out of that. These unhealthy diets, that's a stress response. So many of the other things that we do as Black men, that's just largely a stress response. So if you can find a way to get on top of that, get a handle on that, everything else kind of falls in line behind it.
All right. I love it. And Derek, I'm going to move with you with a different question.
I like that question. I was ready for it and everything.
But you go ahead. I'll let you take that, but then I'll give you another question. Go ahead. I'll let you take it. See, that's how our friendship rolls. See, I'm not going to stress you. See, we don't do that.
Right. Reduce and eliminate stress. But no, for me personally, denying myself is definitely beneficial to me. Denying myself, and I say that because it was for certain things. I was so caught up in drinking sodas so heavily. That was one of my biggest issues. After, in my recovery process, we normally turn to sweets, and sodas was my thing. I was drinking like a case of like 12 pack of sodas like every other day, literally every other day, including my little snacks and cookies and all that. But I had to start somewhere, and for me it was with sodas. So I had to take myself to waters. They're flavored waters, but I'm trying to work my way off that as well. So I think it's just denying myself small things in small increments. And I say that because I always talk about my recovery process, not ashamed to admit that I am a person that recovered from substances, crack cocaine and alcohol. And I just think that sometimes we overwhelm ourselves and we think that we have to do these things on a big, huge, grand scale, and we really don't. And I think that that all goes back to the stress reduction, because when we take on a whole bunch of stuff and then we become overwhelmed, the stress kicks in, and now we're out of whack and we really don't know what to do with ourselves, so we just go for anything. So I'm just going to keep it there with the denying myself certain things and just maintaining my own personal level of comfortability where I'm at right now. And you were talking earlier about work, like exercise and working out. And we think that men have to be these big, burly guys, and I'm well past that now. Now I do things for flexibility because I'm getting older. I'm 51 years old, and I'm starting to feel things tighten up a little bit. So I'm doing things now just for flexibility. I don't want to have to, like Anthony said earlier about the pills, not wanting to be on pills. I don't want to have to wake up in the morning and have to take a bunch of medications just to eat or just to be able to move and function. And it's sad to say, we as Black men, that's the way that we normally end up going down that path because we don't eat correctly. I still love cheeseburgers. That's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite foods. I love the grease, I love the fat, I love the flavor, all that stuff. But I know eventually I have to work my way off of that. It is rough, and we can. But even in that, we can't do that alone. Because we leave it up to our own mindset. I'll just eat half. Okay, we'll see how that works out. It hasn't worked out for me too well. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Oh my gosh.
Serious.
You're denying you're denying your burger. There's nothing wrong with denying your burger.
I'll try. I'll deny myself the sodas, but I'll work on the burgers. Yeah.
I'm telling you that, hey, it's a factor with everything. It's a factor with everything. It's a factor with everything to learn how to navigate out of the mindset with everything. Yeah. So on the realm of that, so we're gonna move with the next question. Anthony, I'll give you that. So give a tip for a male or a female who's watching this, but again, we're talking about men need healing too, on a tip that they can do to honor their physical well-being.
A tip that men can use to honor their physical well-being is something that I try to do every day. I have an accountability partner who's in Jersey, and we text every day. And her name is Miss Juanita. And she's taught me this thing called, I call it Miss Juanita's 3 minutes a day of getting your mind back, right? Getting your mind back meditation. And all it is a 3-minute break where I will take and just breathe, right? Not try to solve the world's problems, not try to create some huge solutions, but just literally 3 minutes to almost reclaim my mind and just do it through deep breathing, right? 3 times a day I try to do it in 3 minutes. It's something else that Mr. Derek mentioned. And a lot of times, if I'm having trouble trying to get things settled, another tip I use is I try to drink water. I'm usually not hydrated. And I know that affects my brain and how I think and process. So a glass of water or a 3 minutes of breath work.
Okay. All right. So we're going to move. So again, we're going to move now to, okay, we done the mind. And here is an affirmation for that. So I'm going to hand out affirmations. I'm actually thinking about putting this on a mini healing card too. So, I better trademark that. What you think, Jermicheal? But I think I better trademark it first, but I'm open to share with the community. So, hey, I don't look at it as stealing. I look at it as being an intervention. So we done the mind. So my thoughts are powerful. My emotions are valid. And I honor the peace that I am creating within my mind. For the body, I am an energetic healing being. Nutrition will value my life. I will be movement beyond this journey. And my sleep, during my sleep, that any tension that I take will be released. So we're moving now to the spiritual. Yes. Yochas Moni says, open and honest communication with your partner about how you truly feel, especially. Yeah, that is so true. So now we're moving to the concept of the soul, which we're going to end it out with this. Soul healing. That's a personal journey for each one of us. But I will say with Todd, can you talk about, just give a little brief on what the soul healing means to you personally?
For me, it was coming to a deeper understanding all the time of who I am, why I'm here, what my connection is with the divine, what I'm supposed to be doing, my identity. Like I said, I believe everyone arrives here with a purpose, and not being afraid to take a good hard look at the things that you believe or the things that you have been taught to believe, the things that you were raised to believe, and evaluate, is this really working for me? And be willing to revise them and even discard some things when you realize this isn't working for me.
Yeah. So Derek, the same question for you.
For me, for my healing, my soul is once again, geared towards street life. This is the part I play in this panel. Just being content and being comfortable, not comfortable, but being accepting where I'm at now in my life. And I don't have the dramas of the street life. I don't have the dramas of incarceration or looking over my shoulder or dealing with all those negative situations that I used to put myself in. You know, I'm a little more at peace, a lot more at peace now within myself. So now my soul is a lot more calm. I don't have to deal with other people's drama because I'm not dealing with those same individuals anymore. I'm not putting myself in the same situations mentally anymore. My whole thought processes have changed. Everything that I said I was going to everything I said I was going to do, I'm working toward doing it now, and I've already achieved some of the things some of the goals that I've set out to achieve. So now my soul is a lot more calm. My thought processes are a lot clearer, and now I feel as though I'm a better individual because of that.
Yeah. Jermicheal, the same question for you.
I would agree with those brothers, man. Soul healing for me is just living my purpose, knowing what I'm here for, walking in that journey every day. That helps me heal. You know, being around youth, being around kids, inspiring people, hearing inspiration of others. You know, hearing the walk of journey of people who look like me. I'm inspired by us, our resiliency, the things that we've gone through over the years, and we're still standing strong. That inspires me. That heals my soul. That makes me feel wonderful, knowing that there are great people in the world who continue to do great work and truly understand. And the things that we faced, the things that we continue to face. We are a resilient people, and we always stand strong. That helps me heal. Knowing that, seeing that, helps me heal as a person in my journey because, again, I'm just inspired by us. You know, some of the greatest minds in the world are African American minds. I hear often we have no culture as African Americans, and I believe that's a lie. You know, we have created some great things as African Americans in America, facing the things that we faced over time. We've created a lot of great things. We actually have our pulse on the world. People love our culture, and I truly believe that we're amazing beyond everything. So that's what heals my soul. Just that belief in us, that faith in us to know that, you know, no matter what we face, we really gonna make it through, and always gonna be here as a strong people.
Yeah, if we come together, that's the thing. That's the key. We come together. We can do so much more if we come together. And I think these things happening, it's a formation of the frequency for us to come together more. I think a lot of people don't believe that, but I know so. I know so. The things that's happening, it's time for us to get back to being our neighbor's keeper. If you don't have, I had to bring you your grain, your piece of bread. You had the bread, we bring the meat, whatever, those type of things like that. So I do have some comments that I would like for you guys to share because I'm so glad that people are tuning in. I have Anna Cruz here. She said, congratulations to you all strong men who are here to speak up and educate your community. Yocha Moni says, open and honest conversation with your partner about how you truly feel, especially. And acknowledging how much God really, really loves us, remain in constant reminder of the finished work of the cross. This is the fixed fight. Love the comments. Thank you guys for sharing that as well. And Anthony, the same question for you that I had too, about how has your soul healing, what does it mean to you personally as well?
I think for me, soul healing is first and foremost me saying and realizing that I'm enough, right? We live in a culture that says, I'm not enough, we're not enough. And we live in a culture that's completely based on performative type of interactions. So unless you're doing something or being whatever it is, you're not enough. So I think one of the things those are some of the affirmations I use every day. I'm enough, right? I'm enough just as I am. Doesn't mean I know everything. Doesn't mean I have everything figured out, but I'm enough to manage my life, support people in the community, and move forward. And something else that I think is really good for healing my soul, and people can take it on and heal themselves with it. Jermicheal was talking about working with young people, and I've worked with young people at this point probably 20 years, maybe more. And one of the things I've learned to do is to ask them, what happened to you? What happened to you? And really listen. Most of the time we ask young people, what's wrong with you? Right? Or why are you doing that? And I think, like I said, with me working with young people, I work with young people who are in the foster care system. So I'm often like, in some way or another, asking you, tell me your story. What happened to you? Right? And I find that just supporting somebody telling their story and supporting somebody owning it, like not hiding it, but owning it and say, yeah, this is what happened, or I should have done this. To me, that's very healing for the soul. There's something that's very uplifting and opening about that.
Yeah. You touched it. You touched on something too, because I met a lady years ago, and she was actually from the Maryland area. She actually now goes around speaking. Her name is Tonia Kane. She was, addicted to drugs. Oh, she did everything. Every time you turn around, they would arrest her. I mean, she had multiple, I think like over 80 some arrests or something like that.
Mhm.
But she has a powerful story that she goes around now and share. Took one person, because of the trauma that happened. What you just said, it took one person to say, well, what happened to you that made that happen? That why you went through that. And that's so true. That there was the spark to her transition. So which meant a whole lot. So this is a question, because I know I had to deal with it. Forgiveness. Let me say this. The role of forgiveness, and I'm going to just give you all the example. The role of forgiveness plays into the ability to move forward. Do you believe that true or false? And I'm going to start with you, Todd, with that one.
I think the first person you have to forgive is yourself.
Mhm.
Because it's very easy to beat yourself up about past mistakes or past missteps. Woulda, coulda, shoulda, whatever. But a big part of that for me has been the path that I took is what led me to this place. So now what?
Yes.
And I can honestly say that I am in a better place now as a result of some of the work that I've done. And, as they say, wouldn't take nothing from my journey now.
Wow. That's a powerful statement. Jermicheal, for you, the same question for you.
Can you ask that question one more time, please? I'm sorry.
So that's okay. The role of forgiveness, does it play a role in your ability to move forward? Yes or no? Because, sometimes we beat
Yes.
ourselves up. True or false?
Yeah, true. It's a true situation. You definitely gotta forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for allowing yourself to undervalue yourself at times. To allow other people undervalue you as well. There's a lot of times, like you said, we beat ourselves up for things. Sometimes it's not even our problems, not even our issues, but we always try to play savior as men. We're always trying to save other people or get involved in things, and sometimes just don't focus on self. Take that time to focus on self. Take that time sometimes to truly, keep your mindset where it needs to be, and forgive yourself for forgetting yourself. I think that's one of the biggest pieces. We forget ourselves at times because we get so caught up in other things. So, forgiving yourself for forgetting yourself and giving yourself more time and grace. I think we don't give ourselves. We give everybody grace, but we don't give ourselves enough grace at times. Yeah.
That is so true. Same question for you, Mr. Derek.
Well, everybody already said the first person we need to forgive is ourselves. And I'm at that point of, forgiving myself on a continuous basis. I always mention back to the substances again. I had to forgive myself for the things that I've done in my past, because without the substance, I wouldn't have done those things. I'm pretty sure of that. So there's me here, and then there's me in addiction. Without the addictions, without the addictive side, without me being under the influence of substances, I wouldn't have done the things that I did to get the substance or after the substance. I wouldn't have done those things. So I had to forgive myself and understand that I am not that person when I'm sober and clean.
All right. And Anthony, the same question for you.
I would say I totally agree with what everybody else has said about forgiving yourself. One of the things that popped into my mind when you asked that question is Viola Davis did this interview once, and she said she was talking about like looking back to when she was a little girl, right, and trying to take care of this little girl. And her therapist told her that little girl survived. She doesn't need you to take care of her. Like you need to be present on where you are now and taking care of yourself now. And one of the things I really think we should look at is like, okay, when we're forgiving ourselves, whatever we did, didn't do, said, or didn't say when we were 5 or 6 or 7, we were probably trying to survive, right? Just like we do as we get older. And I think we have to really be okay with that and forgive ourselves and say, okay, well, little Jermicheal, little Todd, little Derek, little Michelle, they survived. They figured out whatever they need to figure out to make it through the world, right? And then forgive ourselves and the people around us. A lot of times I find as I'm getting older, the people that are around me that I've spent a lot of time like maybe being upset or not understanding them, they got their own stuff too, right? And whatever they did or didn't do, they were probably coming, like Jermicheal said, they were probably coming at me from a place of trauma.
Yeah.
So of course their reaction to me was based in trauma. So really letting go of, well, you did this. I was thinking about this the other day about something that happened. I was 14. I thought, why am I thinking about that? But letting people off the hook. That doesn't mean we're gonna do it again. That doesn't mean I'm okay with it. But understanding, yeah, you were in your bag about whatever then. So learning to forgive ourselves and the people around us who were probably doing not necessarily the best they could, but they were doing what they knew how to do.
Right.
And saying, okay, that's what you knew. Now we know better. So
Yes.
going from that standpoint.
So look, we got 2 minutes and a half before this ends, but I want to be cognizant of everyone's time. I want to say again, thank you all so much for letting this happen. I just want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart that you all have collaborated to bring the message that men needs healing too. This segment is very powerful because I know that this will go out and somebody today will get something out of that. And I'm kind of emotional right now because my son was on here this morning and he usually doesn't be on here. So I want to say thank you guys so much. But before we leave into that, there is something that I want you all to do for those who may be watching this or who will catch this replay, and to let you know that this will be aired again on this Tuesday coming. What commitment today or the challenge that you will give to a male viewer today watching that they need healing to in their mind and in their body? I'll start with you, Anthony.
You said, what challenge would I give them?
Yes.
The challenge I would throw down for them, the gauntlet, so to speak, would be to actually talk to somebody they're connected with and say, I'm not okay, or this is bothering me. It doesn't have to be heavy and dark, but just to be able to say, let me check in with somebody and be really okay with sharing something, regardless of what the person responds with. Being able to say, I'm feeling great because of this, or I'm not feeling so great because of that. So that would be the challenge I would throw down.
Same question for you, Derek.
Actually, you stole my answer, actually. Basically, just seriously, I was going to say just be truthful about your feelings, because I know a lot of times people, like, I might not be okay. And, hey, how you doing, Derek? I'm fine. I'm all right. Knowing that I'm not, and there's just something small going on with inside me, and I won't express it. So my challenge is just to be truthful about your feelings.
That's it. Jermicheal, the same question for you.
Yeah, I would piggyback off those brothers. Mine's just be intentional about checking on people, especially black men, right? Like, it ain't just the, hey, how you doing? It's like, yeah, yo, bro, really, how you doing? You know what I mean? Be intentional with that check-in, to let them know. A lot of times that, hey, how you doing is just a greeting sometimes. It's not a real check-in. We say that in passing, or we say those things and keep it moving. Just as black men, be intentional and checking on men. You understand? That's very vital and important. We don't always get checked on. Like I said, a lot of times people look at us, and like you said, if you're in shape, you're doing well, you got a lot going on, people think you're good, so they don't check on you. You know what I mean? So just be intentional in your check-ins.
And Todd, the same question for you.
I'm going to follow right in the path of Anthony, Derek, and Jermicheal. Talk about man up. My definition, the new definition of man up. Be man enough to ask for some help when you need it.
All right. All right. So, I'm all about affirmations as well, but I want to give you guys just a chance to tell people where they can contact you. So, Anthony, go ahead and tell people where they can look you up.
Okay, you can look me up at Plant Powered Brothers. That is the name of my website. That's the name of my YouTube channel, Plant Powered Brothers. I do a Facebook Live every Tuesday night between 7 and 8. So I go on and rantingly love about turning our health around and my diabolical plan to live to be 150. I got a lot of stuff to do. I need at least another 100 years. I'll be 58 in February. But I need at least 100 more years to at least set some things up.
Sheesh.
Jeez. Derek, how about you? Tell people where they can find you.
I don't have any websites or anything yet, but you can find me on Facebook under Derek Powell, Life Chat Podcast. Also on YouTube, Life Chat Podcast. Everything's Life Chat Podcast for me. TikTok, Derek Powell, Life Chat Podcast. Basically, I host a podcast. My segments are on every Wednesday night at 7:00 p.m. I discuss life situations with various guests on every Wednesday night. Sometimes there's a small panel. We discuss recovery processes. We discuss life situations, experiences. We discuss business. We discuss entrepreneurship, all type of different experiences, all type of different situations. But we strictly focus on trying to bring a solution, not just talk, but a solution to the problems or the situation.
All right. Todd, tell the people where they can find you.
You can go to my website, toddledbetter.com. It's Todd with 2 D's, LED, LED, better.com. You can also find me on Instagram at sax.vegas. That's SAX, sax.vegas, and or T-LED-Jazz.
I'll tell you, the brother's bad on the saxophone. I'm trying to tell you that. But Jermicheal, the same for you. Tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm Jermicheal Mitchell on Facebook. I am King Langston 8 on Instagram. King Langston is my alter ego. You can listen to me every Sunday from 12 to 1 for the next couple of weeks on Live 97.5, Everything Urban. I do a podcast show on the radio from 12 to 1 locally. But I'm getting ready to change my show to the Rhythm and Motion, the Vibe Show. It will be 7 to 9 on that same station every Sunday starting in December. Just reach out anytime. It's always love. It's always interesting to hear from people and just hear the different perspectives of all people. So,
all right. So again, audience, I want to say thank you for tuning in. Again, share. I hope this has been very useful. Thank you so much again. But I'm all about that affirmation. And you know what, guys? Since you all have helped me out this morning, I had something for you guys, but I want you to repeat it because it's going to go in the atmosphere with this frequency that's going to be rolling up on here because this thing, I see this going nationally. I'm just putting it out. I'm putting that frequency out there. I'm seeing that you guys will come together again to do this. I don't know.
Sure.
If I have to be the person to bring it together, oh well. I can help. But I see this movement with this. Men need healing too. So for you guys, I want you to repeat after me. And this is how we're going to end the show.
All right.
I am a man of balance.
I'm a man of balance.
I am a man of balance.
My mind is focused.
My mind
is focused.
My body is strong.
My body
is strong.
and my soul is at peace.
And my
And my
soul,
My
is
soul
at
is
peace.
at peace.
I allow healing
I
I
allow
allow
healing
healing
to move through every part of my being.
through
to
every
move through
part
every
of
part of my
through
being.
every part of my being.
And so it is. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you guys for tuning in to this special segment of the Upfront Mind, Body, and Soul in partnership with the Holistic Professional of Color, because our motto here is we heal ourselves, we heal our communities. You can check me out on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. at the Upfront Mind, Body, Soul. And if no one has told you that you are loved, just know that you are loved here at the Upfront Mind, Body, Soul.